The House voted last night to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, a ban on homosexuals serving in the military. How close was the vote? Where do we go from here?
Well, the vote was 234 to 194. You had, I think it was 5 Republicans join with the Democrats. The only Democrat that didn't join in was Jim Webb, of Virginia, a Democrat. And Webb said, according to this new law that repeals the 17-year-old ban, it's not a ban on gays serving, it's just a ban on gays serving openly. The law says that they have to wait and make sure that the Secretary of Defense, the President, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs feel comfortable with the way that it's being implemented with regard to retention, to morale of the troops, that it can be effectively done. Now, Webb says, let's wait until the report comes in and we know exactly what...
And that's in December.
December of this year. Webb said, let's wait. And that's what a number of the Republicans were saying. Why do it now? Well, in part, the answer is that the talk around town is that Secretary Gates may not be there in a year or so. And, of course, you may have more Republicans and fewer Democrats, and therefore it wouldn't get done in a year. And there's been tremendous pressure on the president to satisfy his campaign pledge. If you'll recall, Diane, he said that he was going to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And the gay community has given a lot of money and support to President Obama, and he hadn't fulfilled it. Well, now he's going to be able to say that it's a done deal.
Cheryl.
Yeah, just a sort of minor factual point. The House did vote yesterday. We also had a vote in the Senate, an important vote in the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is where Senator Webb cast his no vote. And the upcoming debate will now move to the Senate, and that is a question. Backers of repeal believe that they have the votes in the Senate, but they're not entirely certain. There's been intense pressure to do this before the elections because advocates for gay rights have been very concerned that once the midterm elections come, Democrats will lose seats in the House and Senate and the prospects for repeal will diminish. And so this vote was the result actually of a compromise. Secretary of Defense Gates and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Admiral Mullen wanted to wait until after December 1st when the results of the Pentagon study were published about how to implement repeal. But the gay advocates were pressing for a vote sooner. They didn't want to wait because of the election. And so they cut this deal where they would vote to repeal now and delay implementation until afterwards.
I was covering the Clinton White House in 1993 when they implemented Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was hugely controversial. Almost the first thing that President Clinton did as a new president, and one that cost him a lot. Look at how attitudes have changed in the past 17 years. This is relatively non-controversial, not entirely, and there are some in the service who oppose it, but surveys show that about 3 out of 4 Americans think repealing this is the right thing to do. This is a case in which we've seen a huge cultural shift in attitudes toward gay men and lesbians in the past 17 years.
Forgive me for asking this, but isn't there also the fact that there is a greater need for manpower and person power in the military?
And, one of the things we've seen is some celebrated cases where Arabic translators that we need in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have been forced out of the service because they have acknowledged being gay. So, yes, I think that has been part of the debate.
That's exactly right. 13,000, I think, people have been forced out. And Susan mentioned the poll numbers. It's true, 3 out of 4 Americans currently support it. Contrast that with in 1993, only 44%, less than the majority, backed gays in the military. So we've seen a huge shift on this issue, as we have seen, frankly, with other issues relating to gays, including gay marriage.
And I think the biggest shift's been in the military. I mean, you think about people like Colin Powell. I mean, that's a big change. But you stop and think about the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the service chiefs. I mean, they're pretty much all saying, it's time. The question is how to do it and how to do it effectively. But there's some who still feel that this is not the right thing to do. To the contrary, you could look at Israel, Australia. I think there are 29 other countries that have no problem with people who are homosexual serving in the military. It doesn't impact retention or morale. And we're going to now have women on submarines in this country. But as I say, there's some people who find it culturally just appalling that you would have, in the barracks, a gay guy.